Okay, so now he's getting in details of like how people actually worked with those muskets. Barbadian reacts to what was it like getting drafted in Napoleon's army. Let's get into it, fam.
The wars which engulfed the Napoleonic Age were monumental affairs involving the mobilization of millions of men from across Europe. Such titanic struggles are often analyzed from the bird's-eye perspective of the armchair general. But in this series, we shall descend to the ground level to experience the history of the common soldier. From the process of conscription to individual and unit-level training, the chaos of battle and beyond. This is the story of a soldier's life in Napoleon's Grande Armée.
This is very interesting because I am currently reacting to the Napoleonic Wars by Epic History TV. And I just want to react to this because I was like, I'm reacting to this stuff. I'm like, man, imagine what it must be like for these soldiers on the ground, right? I think this would give me a much more like bit of insight to this. I don't think I'll get spoiled by this. I hope I don't get spoiled by this. I don't think this should have spoilers in it. Currently, I'm gonna react to Napoleon in Egypt, maybe tomorrow or Friday, but I hope I don't get spoiled.
You can join your own cause with today's sponsor.
Okay, I'm broke. I say this in every reaction that I do. I'm broke.
Before we throw ourselves into the midst of battle, we will have to rewind the clock to see how soldiers came to find themselves in the ranks of the army in the first place. To do so, we will focus our first episode on the recruitment and training of new soldiers. Let us begin. From the formation of the First Coalition in 1792 to Napoleon's final downfall at Waterloo in 1815, France fought most of Europe for the better part of 2 decades. From the hills of Portugal to the depths of Russia and colonial theaters across the seas.
Dude, it's absolutely madness, bro. How France was just fighting on all these fronts, bro. I think the only country that really, really like fought this hard was probably Germany in World War II, like fighting on all of these fronts, dude. Holy crap.
Satisfying the war's vast appetite for manpower became the central issue for Napoleon's empire, and failure to resolve it led to its ultimate collapse. As such, we will now discuss the process by which soldiers were recruited. Since the storming of the Bastille, the various revolutionary governments had relied largely on volunteers to fill its ranks. However, following a string of defeats, the French Royal Army moved to institute a series of emergency mass conscriptions, culminating in the Levée en Masse of 1793. Starting with a quota for the nation to raise 300,000 soldiers, it was a bold move meant to pull France from the brink of defeat. The decree read as follows, quote, "From this moment until such time as its enemies shall have been driven from the soil of the Republic, all Frenchmen are in permanent requisition for the services of the armies. The young men shall fight, the married men shall forge arms and transport provisions. The women shall make tents and clothes and shall serve in the hospitals. The children shall turn old linen into lint. The old..."
Damn, bro, they're using everyone. Jeez. Every bit of manpower, fam. It's like, okay, you're not old enough to be in the army. Well, you go do this. All right. Okay, you're a woman. Well, you go be a nurse, or go make me a sandwich.
old men shall betake themselves to the public squares in order to arouse the courage of the warriors and preach hatred of kings and the unity of the Republic.
Even old people aren't even exempt from this. That's crazy, bro.
This revolutionary spirit and the swelling nationalism of the common people had now unlocked a vast pool of manpower unrivaled by many of its contemporaries. Over the course of the Revolutionary Wars, perhaps 1 million men fought for France, allowing it not only to defend itself, but take the offensive against a growing coalition of hostile neighbors.
Yo, it's so crazy to me how freaking France was able to fend off like all of these countries, bro. Don't get me wrong. I know that back then wasn't France like the powerhouse of the land, right? Before Germany united, I think France back then was like the powerhouse when it came to land warfare. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yo, it's still all these countries teaming up against France, bro. Oh my goodness. I mean, they had Spain, okay? They had Spain, okay? In my current reaction of Napoleon right now, Spain is still on France's side. But still, like initially speaking, though, I think Spain was against France, though, right? I could be wrong, but initially speaking, but it's impressive, like hands down, like this France defending against all this is hands down one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen in history so far. What one of the most impressive things.
But even these vast forces dwindled in time. Thus, it was necessary to establish a more permanent system to maintain French armies. This was done in 1798 when a military commission passed the Jourdan Law, which established the legal basis of recruitment. Once more, it highlighted the war footing of the nation, with Article 1 stating that, quote, "Every Frenchman is a soldier and must defend the country." Shortly after, Article 3 lays out the broad terms of the reform, quote, "Outside of the case of the danger to the country, the army is formed from voluntary enrollment and by way of military conscription." We will now take a look at both volunteer and conscripted service, beginning with the former.
Skip this part of the video.
According to the law, men aged 18 to 30 could enlist voluntarily for a term of 4 years in peacetime. Some exceptions were made for younger volunteers. For instance, the children of soldiers could enlist at the age of 16. In 1806, Napoleon extended this exception to civilian 16-year-olds who had their parents' permission. According to the law, all such volunteers would need to present a certificate of good conduct signed by the mayor of their municipality and the justice of the peace.
But you know, it's crazy how back then they had their own certificates, right? And look, no, that does not matter today, bro. Yo, it's crazy to me. Like, I don't know, this is a little bit unrelated, but it's just crazy to me how we're like working in school for all these certificates and stuff. And it's like, bruh, 100 years from now, this is not gonna matter because we're all gonna be dead. Oh, I don't want to get too deep though. I don't know, that's a whole different thing. But it's just crazy though. It's so surreal, you know? Just think about that for a second, right? But yeah.
Their enrollment would then be registered in a town hall where records would be taken of the citizen's identity, residence, and physical description. As an incentive for such volunteers to come forward, they were paid more than conscripts, with this bonus gradually increasing the longer they served. However, despite such incentives and the lofty rhetoric of the law, volunteers were not enough to meet the manpower needs of the French army, which, during the Napoleonic Wars, consisted mostly of conscripts. Let us now turn to this practice. Officially, the law subjected men aged 20 to 25 to conscription, dividing them into 5 age classes. Local authorities were ordered to maintain lists of all such men in their district. Information included the names, professions, and residences of all men of suitable age. When the call from up high came for conscription, it would involve a quota of men which must be raised from the various territorial regions known as cantons. Each cantonal authority would then consult its list of eligible men and select conscripts by lottery. Each man would have a number randomly drawn, ranging from 1 to the total number of eligible candidates. Those whose number was below or equal to the required quota were selected. Next, they would face a council to determine their fitness to serve. This recruitment council was headed by the department prefect.
Did they have like IQ? Wait, no, IQ wasn't invented back then. I heard this rumor that American, like if you have a certain IQ, I think it's like if your IQ is below 73, you can't serve in the US Army. I could be wrong. I wonder if they had anything for like intelligence, like uh, very, very interesting.
Alongside him was the senior military officer of the department and a major from the Ministry of War. A captain from one of the regiments slated to receive the new draft advised the council but could not vote. This council screened men based on various criteria. Generally speaking, conscripts had to be in good health and stand at least 1.488 meters tall. A host
Yo, I'm 6 feet. I'm like, what is 6 feet? Like one 1 8, right? 1 8 1 or 182 centimeters. I don't know.
of other exemptions existed, including men whose brothers had already been killed, single fathers with children to care for, and men already registered for conscription into the Navy. Men lacking sight in the right eye.
Yo, I don't care what anyone tells me. I would never serve in the Navy. Hell no. The Navy is worse than the Army, bro. Because when you think about it, oh my goodness, especially back then, oh my gosh, dude. Think about it, bro. Think about it. You have to go through the hell of being on the sea, my dude. Think about that. That was hellish. Hell no, bro. I want to use foul language so bad, but I don't want YouTube to smite me down. But hell no, I'm not serving in the Navy. And in the battle, yo, naval combat, Napoleonic era. Hell nah, bro. The horrors, bro, that I've heard from some of these it doesn't, not even just in Napoleonic Wars, just naval combat back then, 19th century, 17th century, 16th century, bro. Oh, hell no. Like you gotta go, bro. I watched a video the other day when it was this guy who was like, "Oh yeah, this is how people were amputated back then in the Napoleonic Wars," and the freaking guy just was like, "Oh yeah, there was no like painkillers or anesthetic, so he took a big saw and just uh-uh." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta hold them down, cause you know it's a lot of pain." Hell no. And oh my gosh, bro, like, I like you're like in the middle of a ship, and a cannon hits it, and the wooden splinters hit your skin. Uh-uh.
Front teeth necessary to tear open paper cartridges, or the right thumb or index finger were exempt from service. Loss of a whole left hand or other limb also disqualified potential conscripts. As a result, self-mutilation was a common means of draft evasion. Should they be discovered, these men would be punished with 5 years of hard labor. Those who had come by their infirmities honestly, or at least remained undetected, had to pay a 50 franc indemnity, the rough equivalent of 5 months' wages for a soldier.
And wait, I was gonna say the N word. What what I was gonna say is that guy has so much spit in his mouth. Like goddamn, bro. I'm sorry. I look at the little details. That guy has so much spit in his mouth.
However, another method of recruitment occurred in the form of substitution, whereby a conscript might hire another to take his place. While initially a somewhat informal practice, this actually became legalized in 1800. However, not just anyone could become a substitute. They had to be in good health, stand at least 1.651 meters tall, and not themselves be a potential conscript. As the wars of the empire proved increasingly deadly, the demand for substitutional service skyrocketed. Not only would draft-dodging conscripts have to pay the 100 francs for their substitute's uniform, but they would also pay them a sign-on fee, many times a soldier's annual wage. Sadly, this
Damn, bro. So the rich people, I mean, I heard similar stories. Like this is similar to like how I think rich people today would just pay their way out of war, especially in Vietnam. Back then, that sounds very similar to Vietnam actually, how freaking rich people would just go and pay their way out of combat.
often meant that it was the poorest and most desperate who took the place in Napoleon's front lines. Yet even the system put in place by the Jourdan Law could not keep up with the meat grinder of the empire's wars. As such, the French government increasingly began to stretch the age limits of conscription beyond the initial 20 to 25-year range, while also forbidding men from leaving the ranks regardless of how long they had already served. In this way, roughly 1.5 million men were mobilized to fight for an empire which ultimately came to gobble up much of Europe and directly rule over 44 million people. The vast majority of these troops who fought under the Eagles did so in the infantry, and so it shall be they whom we focus on as we explore the life of a Napoleonic soldier.
Bro, most of the video is gone. What? Most of the video is gone. Now you're talking about that?
We can begin with a soldier who has just passed the inspection of the Conscription Council. He will now be assigned a date to gather in the departmental capital and depart for their assigned regimental depots under armed escort. As can be imagined, these departures were emotional scenes. Philippe Gille, a conscript of 1808, recounts the following in his memoirs, quote, "I left Paris by the St. Martin Gate. Arriving at Bourget, we had lunch, and as we left this village, I asked my brother and those of my friends who accompanied me not to go any further. This child remained as if petrified in the middle of the road, his two arms outstretched towards me, and though I was already very far away, he had not changed his stance. However, when I lost sight of him, tears finally came, and after having given this last tribute to tenderness, I caught up with my traveling companions and continued on my way."
First off, if you haven't made money with
Skip the part.
AI yet, don't worry. AI is the biggest wealth.
For many, such an experience was too much to bear, and desertion was common. This was often the case among peasant farmer families who relied on young men to work the land. Desertion was especially rife in southern France, which was generally poorer and more skeptical of the revolution and empire than the north and east. As the wars increasingly turned against France, the empire relied on harsher measures to combat draft evasion and desertion. Columns of gendarmes prowled the country, searching for deserters. One of their measures was to quarter soldiers in the deserters' home, preventing them from returning and putting further financial pressure on their families. But for all recruits who did not
Damn, so you're like trapping them in their home? Damn, bro.
dodge
Wait, how do people even desert? Like, can someone explain that to me? Like, how do people successfully desert? I was trying to think of like scenarios in my head. Like, do they like sneak off or something? Like, how do they do that?
service, their next step towards the front was an assigned mustering point. Often, this would have been an army depot. Here, the men would join their officers and the rest of their unit. This union would have been formalized when conscripts took the oath of soldiers in the French army, which went as follows. Quote, "I swear obedience to the Constitution of the Empire and fidelity to the Emperor." With this pronouncement, they would then be entered into their regiment's administrative registers. Thus began life in Napoleon's army. As soldiers, they would now receive their equipment, including weapons and uniforms. In emergency situations, these green troops would be rushed into battle.
Bro, the fact that people actually dress like this is crazy. Like, I'm looking at these uniforms, bro, and Oh my gosh, these uniforms look so clumsy. The more I look at them, I'm like, what the heck? Oh my goodness, dude. Oh, I don't know. Maybe these are like different types of uniforms, but like seeing like these uniforms in like real life, because again I'm reacting to Napoleonic Wars by Epic History TV. Check it out if you want to. But I'm used to like seeing like the drawings and paintings, right, of these uniforms, but like seeing it in person, bro, it's like it looks so clumsy.
Ideally, however, they would have several weeks or months at the depot before being deployed. This precious time would have been dedicated to training. We shall cover it now. Following Napoleon's 1808 decree reorganizing the French infantry, the depot was organized as a battalion of 4 companies with a small headquarters led by a major. The 4 companies had different functions. The 4th saw to the initial equipment and training of the new conscripts. The 1st and 3rd would march the conscripts to and convalescents back from the war battalions, and the 2nd would see to garrison duties in France. Training in the depot was organized into a series of schools. At the most basic level was the School of the Soldier, in which the conscripts learned from a more experienced soldier how to stand, how to march, how to hold his weapon, and so on.
Hey, Brun, I know that I mean, it's pretty cool that he has real life depictions. That's pretty cool. I was gonna say you might as well use like younger people, but it's still pretty cool. That's actually really cool, bro. Like you guys like real life people like doing this stuff. I wonder how much they get paid for that,
Next came the School of the Platoon, which taught the conscripts how to move and fight as part of a unit.
bro. This guy right here, look at that tummy, bro. What the heck? Look at that tummy, bro. Oh, dude, it's even there. Oh my goodness, there's no freaking way that they would unironically like allow people that look like I'm not trying to hate on him, but like just look at him, bro. Look at him. I'm sorry, but that looks so clumsy.
Formation drill was critical to a soldier's survival on the battlefields of the Empire. Troops caught out of formation or in the wrong formation for facing the wrong way were vulnerable to enemies massed in good order, particularly cavalry. The School of the Platoon taught soldiers how to march in formation, how to file march to one side or the other, how to change direction by wheeling, how to move from line to column, and vice versa. The School of the Platoon also taught giving fire by command as a whole platoon and fire by 2 ranks, in which the first 2 ranks fired at will and the 3rd rank passed loaded muskets forward to the 2nd, receiving empty muskets to reload.
Oh, okay. So now he's getting in details of like how people actually worked with those muskets. Oh, that's really cool.
French tactics of the Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars prized aimed musket fire, so when stocks of powder and shot allowed, the depots incorporated target practice into the conscripts' training regimen. This often took the form of shooting competitions, in which the best shots could win cash prizes. Target practice began at nearly 100 meters and was repeated at 200 and 300 meters. Soldiers would then comb the fields for the spent balls so they could be remolded. Once they had been sufficiently trained, or the need at the front became sufficiently dire, the depot companies of different regiments would assemble into march battalions to depart for the war battalions to which they were assigned. At the end of their daily marches, the training continued as they honed their drill in the School of the Battalion. The battalion was the main tactical unit during the Napoleonic Wars, so these were important maneuvers. Changing front, forming battalion lines, squares, columns of divisions, and transitioning from different formations to each other were some of the most important. This was the beginning of a long trek across Europe to the embattled frontiers of the Empire. Alas, it was a trek many would not survive, and from which even fewer ever returned. Join us in our next episode as we cover life in Napoleon's army, and be sure to check out the amazing...
Wait, there's another episode? Okay. I guess this is a series that I'm gonna be reacting to. I did not get spoiled, so that's neat. Yo, okay.
work of the 21st, who've done a fantastic job bringing the past to life.
Yeah, this is very neat. Yeah, bringing the past to light. That's actually pretty cool. Yo, thank you for watching the video, fam. Freaking check out these videos that are appearing on your screen right now, or just go on my channel and check out my other reaction videos. If you want to react to my Napoleonic Wars in chronological order, you can. And yeah, man, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.